So let's start with Hello Ladies, which we have a movie going now. It's almost the third iteration. It started as a stand-up special, moved into a TV series, and now it's a movie. So if you could just talk a little bit about where you got the concept and the idea for it, and then how it continued to evolve through those three different formats.
Yes, three different iterations. It sounds like you're basically implying that I'm really bleeding the money out of this particular one idea. There's going to be a board game and a selection of erotic toys. Well, it began life as a stand-up routine. I had done stand-up comedy many years ago, and I went back to stand-up about 5 years back. And I discovered that the thing that people most seemed to engage with were my stories of my sort of pitiful romantic life. And it's not quite as bad as I make it out to be. But certainly over the years I'd accumulated lots of sort of, ill-fated dating stories and just, and kind of trying to figure out how I thought life would change, becoming well known. And thinking that somehow would open a door to a sort of world of beautiful women. And what I've discovered really is that I just get rejected by a better class of woman now than I ever did before. I mean, I'm being turned down by models. I got a lot of great actresses saying no to me. I mean, some household names have refused to sleep with me. So, and so I discovered, as I say, that the audience seemed to go for the stuff about me sort of being, pathetic in that regard. And I did the show in Los Angeles, and some HBO people came along and said, would you think about doing it as a TV show? And I didn't want to play myself. I felt that there was a lot of shows where comics played themselves, so I sort of created this web designer character. Not that there's anything wrong with, people who work in the World Wide Web or the internet or anything like that. But it just seemed like a way that he could make some money and probably work at home, and also that he thought of himself as like a kind of pioneer. He was in the technology world, and that therefore, why shouldn't he be a celebrity in a sense? And this character's like dreaming of being inside the world of the beautiful people. That is what sort of Los Angeles represents. Certainly to people like me who grew up in the sort of suburbs of England, LA always seemed very glamorous and exotic. And then when you spend time there, you realize that many of the people, as it were, behind the red velvet ropes, inside the VIP areas, are just as desperate as my character. People who, were probably nerds at school, who've sort of gone to LA and reinvented themselves as actors or producers or whatever else, and that they're really just people who are trying to teach the world a lesson, and basically say to all the girls that said no to them, look at me now, I run a studio, or I've won an Oscar, or whatever it might be. And I'm not going to name names, but we all know who I'm talking about. We don't know who I'm talking about. That's and so that's where it came. And then the show came along, and then they let me do this sort of movie length version of the show.